We will not rest until the Prime Minister appears before this committee and tells us the truth.
Tonight, the Conservatives call for the Prime Minister to testify on allegations his office tried to interfere in the decisions of former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould.
We thought we were entering into that it would go beyond symbolism and try to figure out how to practically implement our rights.
Inuit leader Natan Obed is the only national Indigenous leader not willing to accept the government's new Indigenous languages bill.
Mostly I walk away just being incredibly grateful and humbled to be given such an amazing name.
And the Blackfoot Nation bestows another honor on a non-Indigenous person, this time Alberta Premier Notley.
Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. SNC-Lavalin dominated much of the debate in the House of Commons again today. Questions continued on whether there was pressure put on former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to intervene in a criminal matter. Last week, the NDP introduced a motion for an independent inquiry to investigate. The Liberal majority defeated it, but as Todd Lamarand reports, it was the Conservatives' turn today.
Opposition leader Andrew Scheer wants the Prime Minister to appear before the Justice Committee next month. He believes his office tried to pressure Jody Wilson-Raybould into intervening in the SNC-Lavalin criminal case.
But we can all agree, at least we should all be able to agree, except for this case, the Prime Minister and others in his office, that political interference in an independent court proceeding can never be an option in Canada. That is just unacceptable.
The House debated the opposition motion for the rest of the day. Conservative MP Michael Cooper wants Trudeau to appear under oath with the consequence of being charged with perjury.
Let the sunshine come in. Because what we need, Mr. Speaker, is sunshine, and we know that this is a Prime Minister who talks about sunshine as the best disinfectant. Let him answer. Let him answer. Let him answer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? We will not rest until the Prime Minister appears before this committee and tells us the truth. Canadians deserve it, shareholders deserve it, and we deserve it as an institution.
Parliamentary Secretary for the House Leader, Kevin Lamoureux, denied Wilson-Raybould was pressured.
For 6 years, whether it was Stephen Harper or the current leader of the Conservative Party, Mr. Speaker, they've had one focus, one agenda item, and that is to personally attack members of this government and to take what I believe a course that is not in the best interests of Canadians.
It wasn't until question period when Scheer asked Trudeau directly about appearing.
Unwanted and coordinated and sustained pressure to force the former Attorney General to let his well-connected friends off the hook. If the Prime Minister is so sure that he did nothing wrong, will he appear before the Justice Committee to explain his action?
However, Trudeau did not answer the question directly and stated that Wilson-Raybould would be appearing before the committee.
That later today, the government will confirm that the member from Vancouver Granville will be able to address relevant matters at the committee while ensuring that the two active court cases are not jeopardized.
Jody Wilson-Raybould is supposed to appear before the Justice Committee this week. Today she wrote a letter to its chair where she still needs clarity before she can testify. And once she gets that, she'll make a 30-minute address about what she recalls about relevant communications. Todd Lamarand, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Still in Ottawa, Indigenous leaders are divided over Bill C-91, which aims to promote and revitalize Indigenous languages. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Perry Bellegarde said last week he wants to see the bill passed as quickly as possible. But Natan Obed, president of the Inuit Taprit Katatami, is unhappy with the bill and wants the government to make Inuktitut an official language. He presented several amendments to the committee.
This country has been systematically trying to wipe out Indigenous languages, and this is still a great opportunity to push back against that. And the legislation and the ability to co-develop was an opportunity that we thought we were entering into, that it would go beyond symbolism and try to figure out how to practically implement our rights. And we still have a hope that that innovation can happen, and our submission shows that path forward.
The National Energy Board has given the green light for the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion again. You'll recall the Energy Board's original approval of the project was set aside last summer by the Federal Court of Appeal, which had said the regulator did not properly consider marine life and there wasn't enough consultation with First Nations. Now, the National Energy Board says that an increase in tanker traffic resulting from the pipeline would indeed hurt the killer whales and it would increase greenhouse gas emissions, but the benefits of the pipeline would still be greater. Joining me now from Vancouver is Eugene Kung, a lawyer with West Coast Environmental Law. He represented the Tsleil-Waututh Nation in getting the Trans Mountain pipeline quashed last summer. So what do you think of the NEB's latest report that the Trans Mountain pipeline will hurt marine life and the environment, but it should still go ahead?
I mean, it's obviously disappointing to hear, but not at all surprising. Anyone who's been following the process since the reconsideration started could see the writing on the wall and that the fix was in. I think what is a little bit surprising is how blatantly they're just saying they're just disregarding the importance of southern resident orcas. They're saying, of course, that the eventual extinction is justified in the circumstances by the economic benefits, yet they're stuck in 2013 economics that they refuse to revisit, which I think is very problematic, especially now that the Canadian federal government has bought the project.
So, and the NEB's report starts the clock on a 90-day period for the federal government to decide whether the project should proceed. So what do you plan to do next?
Well, I'm sure the next 90 days will be very eventful. Of course, we know in that time, before the federal government makes a decision, whether it's in 90 days or longer, they have to complete meaningful consultation with affected First Nations. Just doing the math on the timing required to hold those meetings makes me think that they will likely go beyond 90 days, and especially if they want to try to avoid future lawsuits, which seem very likely at this point, and in fact, I would be surprised if this whole matter didn't end up before the courts again before too long.
Yeah, well, and just for our viewers at home, so it's there's 119. They have to have consultations with 119 Indigenous communities along the pipeline route within that 90 days. So when you were talking about the math, we're doing the mental math of how that would shake down, just so our people at home can see that that's a lot of communities to have meaningful consultation with in a 3-month period. What do you expect that the Indigenous title holders are going to? Can you foresee blocking construction?
Well, from everything I've heard, nothing about what the National Energy Board said on Friday changes, in particular, the opposition to the pipeline. We have First Nations communities who have done their own independent assessments, grounded in their own unextinguished Indigenous laws that have looked at this project and decided unequivocally that the risks are too high, the impacts on title, on rights are too high, and the justifications just aren't there. So I do see that opposition will continue and indeed likely grow, and how it's expressed, whether it's in the courtroom, in the boardroom, on the streets, or on the land, I think that remains to be seen, and that's a little bit dependent on what happens from the proponents or from the federal government side. Yeah, well, I guess we can just sit and watch and wait and to see what it brings to us. Thanks so much, Eugene, for joining us. Thank you for having me. Family and friends gathered in Winnipeg on the weekend to remember Marilyn Rose Monroe, who was killed 3 years ago. The group gathered on the street where Monroe was found dead on February 22nd, 2016. The 41-year-old had last been seen 10 days prior. Winnipeg police made a new appeal for information on Monroe's homicide. Police say that details of her travels, appointments, and contacts during that time could be critical to the investigation. Nora Monroe says 3 years later, she's still mourning the loss of her sister.
Marilyn was a very kind-spirited, very open-minded, very funny person, and everyone loved her, and she had care for everyone, especially people on the streets.
Time for us to take a quick break, but when we come back, a new safe haven for homeless women in Surrey. First, here's tomorrow's weather.
to the east coast, we've got minus 13 and sunny in Fredericton, minus 4 and snow in St. John's, minus 24 in La Grande River, minus 3 and snow in Cartwright. Saguenay is in at minus 19, minus 14 for Quebec City, sunshine there, minus 11 and sunny in North Bay, minus 12 in Ottawa, minus 14 and sunshine in Sioux Lookout. Wawa is in at minus 13 and a mix of sun and clouds. Pucketawagons minus 15 and snow, minus 13 for the Pond Norway House and sunny, minus 15 for Princess Harbour, minus 13 in Gimli, minus 16 in snow in Winnipeg. Clear skies and minus 19 in North Battleford, clear in Yorkton and minus 17. Minus 13 in Buffalo Narrows with some snow, minus 16 and sunshine in Meadow Lake.
This next story is about how the tragic end of a life turned into a glimmer of hope for some of the most vulnerable in society. A safe haven for homeless women is now open in Surrey, British Columbia. As Tina House reports, it's a refuge from street life and a place to call home.
Last March, demolition began at the abandoned Motel Hollywood in Surrey, and it's being transformed into a safe haven for homeless women trying to get off the streets.
The motel was in absolutely abysmal shape when we bought it, so we're doing extensive renovations inside, new flooring, fixing the doors, making it more secure, replacing the kitchenettes, new furniture, so it will be beautiful inside.
And this is what it looks like today. It's called Little's Place now, after Santana Hunting Hawk Scott. Santana was 19 years old when she aged out of foster care. She became homeless, and she died of an opioid overdose, alone in this tent near a busy highway in Surrey. Santana's street name was Little because she was so small. Janice Abbott, the CEO of Atira Women's Resource Society, was so moved by Little's story that she named the new facility after her to honor her legacy.
You think about the potential that's lost. Every young woman has the potential to find a cure for cancer or raise a child who finds a cure for cancer or helps another person, and you just don't know what potential she had, and it's so preventable. What happened to Santana is so preventable, and that's what makes it tragic.
Well, this is my place. I'll let you see.
Barbara Desjardins was one of the first to move into Little's Place. She's from High Prairie, Alberta, but has been in the Lower Mainland since 1994. She was homeless for the last year in Surrey. Now, she's grateful to have a place to call home.
In the drug world, I believed that I was not safe just sleeping anywhere. So I stayed up like 3-4 days. I was relieved. I just almost started crying when I seen this room, that it was mine for 2 years, you know. That's finally a bed to sleep in, my own bed. And nobody could tell me, oh, you can't, you have to go to sleep this time, or, you know, you have to get up this time, like shelters.
Little's Place is more than just rooms. Maura Gowans is the program director.
So this is an office, and this is where we put up what kind of groups and meetings we're doing for the week. And this is Donna.
Hi.
So she's one of the staff here.
Hello, I'm Donna D.
And then behind you is amazing, amazing Judy.
Hello, Judy.
And so this is our community kitchen where we make meals, 2 meals a day, 7 days a week, and the women help participate in making those meals.
Little's Place offers 22 units. Some have kitchenettes, and some have wheelchair accessibility, and it's also pet friendly.
The dog in the chair. It's okay. No, sit down.
Tamara Ashley lives here with her dog Gizmo. She was a sex trade worker since she was 13 years old, and she says that she also lived in a tent in Surrey. She believes she could have suffered the same fate as Santana.
Yeah, I really easily could have ended up like her. Very easily.
And what do you think of the fact that they basically honored Little with this place and helping women like?
It's awesome. It's really awesome. There needs to be more done like that.
Savannah Huntinghawk Scott is Santana's older sister. She honors her late sister with this tattoo and says Santana would be proud that her legacy will live on through Little's place. But she says the child welfare system failed her sister.
When Santana wanted to get better and healthy, they weren't there to provide her with the things that she needed, and she felt alone, I think, a lot of the time, and she just needed that person to push, to show that they cared and loved for her.
Reports by BC's representative for children and youth say that kids who age out of the system when they turn 19 are often left with no support. Savannah says it was when her sister was put into group homes that her addiction began because of the trauma she had endured.
I definitely think there's a lot more people could be doing, not just for individually, but as a community, I think, to show the support, and we all need to be there for each other.
And this mural of Santana is proudly featured in Little's place. It stands as a reminder of how a young life cut short is now providing hope for others. Tina House, APTN National News, Surrey.
The provincial organization in charge of overseeing Manitoba's Friendship Centres is hoping to build a new one in Winnipeg after vandals destroyed the old building. The Manitoba Association of Friendship Centres says it's working with community members to help establish a new centre. Brittany Hobson has more.
Recent vandalism to Winnipeg's Indian and Métis Friendship Centre has stalled plans to reopen the North End institution. The Manitoba Association of Friendship Centres says another centre will be built to serve Winnipeg, even if a new location has to be found.
We're committed to there being a friendship centre in Winnipeg. We're committed to assisting in the process of development or transition for that friendship centre, and we're committed to making sure that the services that are necessary are being provided to the Indigenous community in Winnipeg.
The IMFC is one of the oldest friendship centres in Canada. It was founded in 1968, but was shut down last year after controversy with a rogue board of directors. The National and Provincial Friendship Centre Associations cut ties to the centre, and the new group led by Norman Lajamodier defaulted on the mortgage. Earlier this month, Winnipeg's Bear Clan Patrol discovered the damage.
That was a huge resource to our community. It was well loved and used by many people in our community. The social hall, the bingo hall, food bank, programming for youth. Kookums had a sewing club there and things like that. And it's all destroyed now.
Bear Clan co-founder James Favel says the group was previously working to reopen the centre with a new board. He says the group, along with community members, will meet with MAC to plan for a new centre.
We're going to have a conversation on the 1st with a group of locals here to see if we can't, reestablish a friendship centre somewhere else.
MAC President David Gray says the organization hopes to see a new centre open by 2020.
We have to have certain fundamental pieces that show governance, community support, programming, and financial accountability, which are the 4 cornerstones of all the centres in Manitoba.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The Blackfoot have bestowed another headdress on another non-Indigenous politician. We've got that coming up after the break, and here's the rest of tomorrow's weather. In northern Alberta, we've got -12 and snow in Fort Chip, -10 in Fort McMurray and snow, -15 and sunny in Red Deer, -12 and snow in Calgary, 6 in sunshine in Tofino, -1 in Penticton and sunny skies, -7 in sunshine in Dease Lake, -8 and sunny in Prince George, -9 in sunshine in Beaver Creek, -9 in Watson Lake, -15 in sunshine in Old Crow, -7 in cloud in Norman Wells, -13 and cloud in Yellowknife, clear skies in -11 in Tuck, -18 and sunshine in Sachs Harbor, -19 in snow in Cambridge Bay, -34 and clear in Whale Cove, clear in Resolute, -35, -28 in Clyde River, and -22 and clear in Pangertung. Welcome back to Alberta now, where Premier Rachel Notley was honoured by members of the Blackfoot Confederacy. Our friends at CTV Lethbridge have that story.
This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime thing that happens to a person.
Premier Rachel Notley graciously accepts her new Blackfoot name at the 2019 International Peace Powwow hosted by the Blackfoot Canadian Cultural Society. It was her first time taking part since the event started 20 years ago.
Mostly I walk away just being incredibly grateful and humbled to be given such an amazing name. And I know that there are some days when you have to go into what you do with that approach. But I think, frankly, that there are people throughout this room, throughout this building, throughout our province who do that each and every day. And those are the people that I'm inspired by, whether they have a name or not.
Blackfoot elders also gave the Premier a ceremonial headdress during a ceremony. Notley says she will now have a deeper connection to the Blackfoot people.
And so she's made connections into our community, so much so that it was felt that it was fitting that it was time, and so the elder was called in.
Chief Jason Goodstriker says it was his father, the elder, who decided Notley should receive her name. However, Goodstriker says she isn't the first premier to have taken part in the powwow.
We've had a number of premiers that have been part of the scene, and of course the sitting Prime Minister with former PM Stephen Harper have been part of our fabric, and it's just the Blackfoot way of doing things.
The powwow was meant to showcase Indigenous culture, specifically the art and the artist. It was a sea of traditional powwow clothing, dancers, and drummers.
When we were invited by the leadership and by the elders, we wanted to honor that invitation, and so we did. And I hope that the conversations carry on, and all I want to do is make sure that we honor the gift that we've been given today.
Notley says being here at the 20th International Peace Powwow is inspiring. She says she feels very honored to have received the name Braveheart Woman. Angela Stewart, CTV News, Lethbridge.
The 50th annual Festival de Voyageurs has come to a close in Winnipeg, billed as the largest winter festival in Western Canada, where the Voyageurs, Métis, and First Nations histories are brought back to life. There was no holding back during the annual jigging contest. The contest has been around for decades and attracts hundreds of people to cheer on the jiggers. Contestants worked their feet to the beat, doing their best rendition of the Red River Jig. I'm going to leave you with more toe tapping to wrap up the show. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you back here tomorrow.